and I feel very blessed and very privileged to be here. I couldn't be in a better place to hold out through a pandemic and sequential lockdowns and so on, because, you know, I feel so sorry for people locked in apartments. I mean, it has really highlighted how unsustainable cities are.
When you're teaching, do you come here every day?
No, so the class runs 2 days a week. So I probably end up working 3 days a week on the weeks that I teach. Because I don't teach all the subjects, there are some gaps there where I don't have to do teaching.
Right.
So that's where I work on my own business. So the consulting and designing and landscaping and stuff.
My name is Lauren and I come from the mid-north coast. I was born in Sydney, but I grew up on a farm on the mid-north coast, which is closer to Newcastle. I suppose everything happens when it's meant to, you know. I had other lessons to learn before I sort of delved into permaculture, and when I watched a documentary, The Re-Greening of the Luan Basin, and it's and I found a way of developing communities or helping people that didn't cost the earth. You know, didn't cost the earth. It helped the planet as much as it helped the people, and it was like it clicked. At that moment, I was 25, I think, living in Rio. So I came back to the Northern Rivers and I found Banya, who you met the other day.
There's a few native vines that come up.
And he was doing little PDCs from his house out this way, actually, not far from Maynarm. And I moved into a house that with a landlord and a backyard that a landlord didn't care what I did. Yeah, so I did my PDC and I landscaped the backyard and just got obsessed.
It's a bit of a so not many of the bananas. These ones are planted a bit earlier, and there's a few going there. We could later on we will get some more banana suckers and maybe plant a few more in gaps to fill that line in. Now, because now we've done all that work, we want to make sure we're then feeding something else that's going to drive succession and create a forest, not just more weeds again. So we have a few more gaps we can fill in there later with bananas. And then I studied at university. I started studying landscape architecture, and I worked out really quickly, having had basically nothing to do with computers by then, that all nights on the computer doing graphic design wasn't going to be my thing. So I then shifted my studies to like ecology. It's the forest ecology and environmental sciences, and found that fed my need for knowledge and learning about the world a lot more. But the lack of practical integration and just the nature of just bringing up problems of the world that seemed to have this hazy, possible theoretical solution, but not really feeling like I could achieve things. So I then did a permaculture design course with Robin Francis in the late 90s, and then from there got into woofing. So I was able to then explore many different farms within Australia in different climates and regions, and sort of learn about their approach to permaculture, and in travelling there and working and learning with them, having access to their libraries as well. And so I sort of had quite a few years of a bit of a learning journey of doing a bit of work on farms for cash and doing lots of woofing and travels in between. Yeah.
I'm Robin Francis. I'm here at Jane Bung Gardens in Nimbin, Australia, in the subtropics. And this is my permaculture education centre. It's also my home, and it's a demonstration site. It's my little permaculture paradise. Permaculture is about conscious design. And so, say the backyard that I grew up in was in town, it was a 1/4 acre block, so 1,000 square metres. With permaculture design, we could have improved it dramatically. And I know I see a lot of people, one of the things that inspired me to study permaculture and teach and design was I was seeing a lot of people in the 70s moving from the city, buying land with these big dreams of becoming self-sufficient and living organic and natural, and they didn't have the knowledge and skills, and they were just creating problems for themselves, and their dream became the biggest nightmare of their life. And just simple things like what we call in permaculture zonation, being really conscious of the proximity of things and how often you need to interact with them. You see people and they've got their vegetable garden, way over there, and they've got their compost system way over there, and it's and permaculture is more than just designing the garden. So my background, gave me a really good grounding and a lot of practical skills. Gave me a good mindset, but I would not call it permaculture because it was not consciously designed, applying the principles of permaculture as an integrated system. So we might just sort of start here. And here we've got our education centre building with our classroom, commercial kitchen, office and so on. It's all built with or designed passive solar and using local natural materials, earth bricks that were made on site, pressed earth bricks and local hardwood timbers, sustainably harvested, and sawdust, sand and cement, or sawment we call it. So turning a waste product from the timber mill into a durable building material. In 1977, I'd just come back from being overseas for 5 years, travelling and learning about traditional farming systems and village culture and all that stuff, wild harvest. And I came back to Australia 77 and I saw Bill Mollison speak at an organic festival about permaculture, and that was before the first permaculture book came out. But it really resonated with me because I'd been thinking similar things, but it just took it so much further and had a design methodology and incorporated and integrated so many other things that I was interested in, like passive house design and appropriate technology, and I'd never actually made the connection between all these things together. I just saw them as isolated things that were interesting, that I wanted to do.
Hello, Lauren speaking. Yeah, pretty good. Yeah. I'm literally out the front. Yeah. And just. Okay. This is the community college, Byron Community College. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 classrooms and a computer room. Permaculture set 3, permaculture set 4, PDC, visual arts, a whole lot of short courses. This college has heaps of short courses, so like visual arts, languages, computer stuff, pottery, floral making. It's heaps. The Cert 4 and the Cert 3 permaculture are one of the biggest courses that happen within the college. So this garden was actually designed by someone in my Cert 4. So when I did it, we did a needs analysis and a site analysis that was at this space, and we looked at the temperature that the concrete was getting. It was really hot. There was nothing really here, and so it determined that we need shade structures. And this is the Paraguayan trumpet tree, and it's spectacular. When it flowers, it's mass bright, like baby pink flowers that it drops everywhere. It's really quite beautiful. You know, when you're doing such practical things, to be able to incorporate that into your learning space, it's like in kindergarten, kids do the finger paintings and stuff and they put it up on the wall. In a place like a community college like this that runs a lot of cool courses, instead of the finger paintings being up on the wall, it's a pizza oven or it's a garden or it's, you know, but it's the same idea of really like applying that practical knowledge and then showcasing it as like, this is what our students and our tutors can help our students, you know, achieve and complete. So it's
So you can do that first, and then chop up the garlic and mix the mix a bit of garlic and salt in. So might need that first. Yeah, that'll work. It doesn't need that.
Fine, you see, we always learn something new.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I only learned this one more recently. Like when I was in Brazil, we're always just buying the packet.
Yep.
And it wasn't until someone showed me that. So that's what you can do if you got the fresh stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I think it's actually quite an exciting time, I think, to be sharing more of this work with the world and helping to educate on the kind of the design, I think the design framework and philosophies of permaculture, I think, can be integrated so well into so many other valuable, mindsets or techniques or frameworks of thinking and design. In terms of land management, I think that holistic management and agroforestry and so many other techniques that are cutting edge and evolving and creating great solutions, I think they can all cross-pollinate and fit in with the framework of permaculture as well.
Oh no, where were you hanging out? See, you missed out, didn't you?
Oh, Louis.
The course I did was actually the first ever permaculture course for women, and that came about because the first permaculture convergence that happened in early '83, it was mostly men there and only 3 women, and everybody was a bit worried about that, and especially Bill said this is not sustainable. To be sustainable we need equal, preferably more women than men involved.
So, pandemic, no pandemic, climate change is coming for us all. There's no vaccine for climate change. It's a real thing. Our climate situation is changing. Fast, yeah. And we have a very small window to play our part and save ourselves, essentially.
You know, the supermarkets in the city have got almost empty shelves. And yet here in our village, you know, we can go up to our little local independent grocer and all the shelves are full. You know, there's not many empty shelves.
By supporting local, you create stronger community. Like, it has its ongoing effects too. Like, you create a stronger community in general. So when things like pandemics do hit, you're more supportive. You're supporting each other a lot more, and they're two very easy things that we can do. You don't have to buy new all the time, and it's even with a balcony. You can have you can be growing your own leafy greens, and then when you can't, farmers markets, they're everywhere now.
Climate change is just a symptom of overconsumption, of overshoot. You know, consuming more than the planet can actually regenerate, and generating a lot of pollution. So the ultimate problem is not climate change. That is a symptom of the ultimate problem, which is overconsumption.
I learnt something personally, you know. I learnt how important it will be to have this knowledge of being able to grow and build and feed myself and live off the land in the most sustainable way. You know, if there's a toilet paper shortage out there, I'll be fine. We've still got some tobacco trees around, very soft, 2 leaves, 2 ply. Yeah, so go and bulk shop all the toilet paper all you want. Yeah.